Well, it's Groundhog Day. Again. And that must mean that I am Professor Robert E.G. Black, and this is the Groundhog Day Project.
It's one of those infinite time loop situations you might have heard about.
It's a thing where the same day keeps happening.
Time.
I wake up every day right here, right in Punxsutawney, and it's always February 2nd.
The last revision is what counts, apparently.
Minute 29 of Groundhog Day continues with Phil and Rita in the diner. We get Larry coming in, and then, rather than leaving town, Phil does go try to get help. And we get a nice cameo. Is it a nice cameo? I actually often don't like this cameo. We'll see what I think when I talk about it this time, but from our director, Harold Ramis. We start with the line I went on a rant about last time. Continuing from before, look out for your shadow there, pal. And Phil, of course, has to be a smartass. He has to be a dick. Morons, your bus is leaving. Being like this to strangers, I mean, it is 2025, so I should call it presidential, I guess. But it is horrible. Phil is a bad person. Bill Murray is also a bit problematic, of course. And the only way this film works is because he's also got a bit of charm where he is funny about it. And as long as it's not pointed at us, or as long as it doesn't feel like it is particularly hurtful, we can understand why he would be liked by some people in his life. And definitely liked by the audience. We understand. We are entertained by Phil. And then Larry comes in, comes to the table and says a line we'll hear a couple more times later. You guys ready? We better get going if we're going to stay ahead of the weather. And then we get, I said last minute, I like the dialogue in this scene overall. But I hate this line, or rather I hate Rita because of this line. Because she says, let's talk about it back in Pittsburgh. On the one hand, maybe she's looking for a little backup from like Gil Hawley, their boss, who we don't hear about in the film. Or I read it as a bad line of dialogue from Ramis or Rubin, I'm not sure which, because you don't wait to continue the conversation back in Pittsburgh. It's one of those bad tropes of sitcoms and movies as well often do this, where a line will start and then we'll cut to what's clearly like 20 minutes later and they're in the car and the dialogue continues as if it's the exact same scene. Rita's saying they're going to finish this conversation back in Pittsburgh. It's going to take them an hour and a half to get to Pittsburgh. Right now, I'm guessing it's going to take a little while to get out of Punxsutawney because there's going to be a crowd on the streets. Probably not that bad because if I remember the roads around Woodstock anyway, where they filmed this, it's fairly easy to get out there. There's several streets going in different directions. For my purposes, you had to go down through the tunnel where Phil goes with the pickup later and the van comes behind him and the police car and then the van. Well, we don't see the van because people always put that as a goof that the van wouldn't fit. And I proved back in season 2, the van would totally fit. But also I've been through that tunnel to get to the hotel where I was staying. You go through that tunnel, you drive around this curvy street on the other side of the train tracks, and it takes you to a major highway and gets you out of Woodstock. It's fairly easy, and I don't think traffic would back up too much there, depending on where people are parking for this. How much of the crowd are locals? The crowd here actually isn't big enough in the film. It is filling the square, so it is... Well, it's not filling the square. We don't see all the corners of the square. We never see the southeast corner of the square where the second smaller gazebo is in the film. We do see the gazebo from far away earlier, but it's never focused on, and the movie doesn't really show that it's there. But also, what we have seen of the northeast corner, which is the corner over near the diner and near where Ned was out in the middle of the intersection, there's definitely no crowd over there. And what we see when Phil was walking into Gobbler's Knob in the second iteration of Groundhog Day, the northwest corner doesn't have a crowd, and because of where Gobbler's Knob is, the stage area, the corner behind it is also not crowded. So none of the corners are filled with people. So the square is not full. Now, a lot of the locals are definitely sticking around for the ice sculpting. We see at least a small crowd for that. There is the banquet later, so people are sticking around in the square. It's not like when I went to Woodstock for Groundhog Day, February 2nd was Sunday. I got there Friday night. I got into town while the equivalent of the banquet was happening. It was happening Friday night, so before everything else. Essentially, the last event of the thing. Well, the prognostication was early. It's at like before 7 in the morning. I forget the time when I was there. But it happens, and then there was a groundhog breakfast, and that was the end of the events. There were walking tours. Wait, was there a walking tour on Sunday? Because I went on a walking tour twice. It must have been Saturday and Sunday. So I guess the walking tour was the last event. That might have been where it was weird. It was the coming back from the walking tour, where you come back to this town square and it is quiet. It is empty. The crowd has dissipated. So getting out of town depends on whether this crowd is more local than not. And I think in the reality of Punxsutawney, the crowd is less locals and more visitors, tourists. But my point was, it takes an hour to an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on traffic, to get back to Pittsburgh at whatever time this diner scene is, every time we see it. We can assume it's right after the event and Rita has come there, but she has sat down and had, coffee and a sticky bun? Rita, I'm guessing, is not someone who scarfs down a sticky bun quickly, so I'm guessing it's at least 8 a.m. already. Or after, because the prognostication was at 7:20 and 30 seconds. Maybe Rita had to try to record a report to go with their footage because Phil didn't. Or maybe she was hoping she'd come over here and talk him into doing something, some sort of voiceover. Who knows? But the idea that they're going to just sit awkwardly and quietly in the van on the hour and a half, 2 hour drive back to Pittsburgh is ridiculous. Phil says, I'm not going back to Pittsburgh. And Rita says, why not? Because of the blizzard. I thought you said that was going to hit Altoona. I know, that's what I said. And she says, I think you need help. That's what I've been saying, Rita. I need help. Cut to interior doctor's office. The neurologist, played by Harold Ramis. This is a, what do they call it? There's a word for this. It's the set they reserve for when it's raining. So they knew they could film this scene at like a pickup set? No, not a pickup. That's later. Oh man, I'm forgetting the words. It is called a cover set. Anyway, they would film this whenever they had time. Like, if the weather got too bad, they'd go to the interior and film these things. And because it's Harold Ramis, they didn't have to wait for an actor. He was going to be there anyway. So this one's easy. This set has the 2 walls that we see, and that's it. It is inside a warehouse. We get neurologists looking at x-rays. X-rays of the skull are definitely not going to show any of the things he's about to list in any significant fashion, if at all. And so it's silly that he says it. Well, no spots, no clots, no tumors, no lesions, no aneurysms. At least none that I can see, Mr. Connors. No shit. Why are you humoring him by doing an x-ray of his skull? That's not going to prove anything. You should have told him up front, because they're going to have to bill him for this. It is a fucked up healthcare system that they are doing an x-ray his insurance is going to get billed for when they know the x-ray is not going to show anything useful. What are they hoping? That he got a head injury? I mean, to be fair, Phil may have told him he got hit in the head with a shovel. Fuck! Did I just defeat my own logic? There is a reasonable reason to get an x-ray and hope for an actual physical injury. It's the dialogue that's the problem. You're not looking for spots or clots or tumors or lesions or aneurysms. You're looking for a crack. You're looking for physical damage to the skull. But if you didn't see any damage to the exterior of his skull, of his head, which there wouldn't be, and also Phil doesn't probably have a headache as such, or pain in that spot where the shovel hit him. Even if he told the neurologist that he got hit by a shovel in the head, it's still a little iffy that they took an x-ray, but at least I could understand it. Okay, I'm coming around on this one. It's okay that they're using an x-ray. The neurologist does then say, of course, if you want a CAT scan or an MRI, you're going to have to go into Pittsburgh. I can't go into Pittsburgh. Why can't you go into Pittsburgh? I told you, there's a blizzard. And it is fucked up that the neurologist doesn't believe him. Because if nothing else in their conversation, does this neurologist never watch the news? Has he never seen a weather report? I get the impression that Channel 9 Pittsburgh is not a small station. Did you see their news office? Pretty big. They filmed that in an actual news place. What news station did they film in? I don't think I know. I should look that up, see if I can find out. But this is a weatherman you're talking to. If he says there's a blizzard, or if someone heard there was a blizzard even, if this is a random person who said he can't go to Pittsburgh because there's a blizzard, you don't dismiss him and be sarcastic right back. Oh, right, the blizzard. No, the correct tone is, right, the blizzard. Well, go tomorrow. You know? You don't jump to cancer. Okay. I'm going to go back on the x-ray thing. I don't think Phil mentioned the shovel, and I think the neurologist is not good at his job. But they're going for comedy, of course. And he says, you know what you may need, Mr. Connors? Oh no, it's Phil that goes to cancer. Shit. Wow, I'm fucking up this whole movie here. I'm forgetting how the dialogue goes. It's because I had a weird line break that made it seem like different people were talking when they weren't. Because Oh Right the Blizzard and You Know What You May Need, Mr. Connors are both the neurologist, but I have a line break between them in the transcript, and I don't know why. Because Phil says, a biopsy? Well, he doesn't say it like a question. A biopsy. And Harold Ramis, going for the punchline, because he's came up in improv, leans in a little and says, a psychiatrist. Ba-dum-bum. And in this minute, it's not that important because it's not that big a deal, but technically in this minute, we do cut to the psychiatrist's office and we see the psychiatrist for a fraction of a second. But there's no content yet. We'll get into that scene next minute. Until then, that's all I got for minute 29. Have a good life. Have a good day. Get out of your rut. Watch some movies or whatever else you do to entertain yourself. Spend time with your loved ones. Have a good time. Get out of the Groundhog Day time loop that is your life, because life is a shitty thing that repeats itself far too much. That's why time loop movies keep coming back. That's why this one still holds up after 30 years.
You were gonna say that.
This has been a production of Lemming Drops Studio. You can find links to more at lemmingdrops.com or join the Facebook group Lemming Drops Studio Tour. Also, you can support all my shows at patreon.com/lemmingdrops.
What is wrong in the end which never comes? Or which comes again and again, lapping, like waves?
Since the Big Bang set everything in motion, everything that happens in this universe has to be the way it is. Particles unfolding the way they're destined to.
How do you sleep at night? You've never seen Groundhog Day?
Yeah, you know Groundhog Day is not a documentary.
Remember when Groundhog Day was just a movie?